Step into The Trademark, your go-to podcast for everything marketing in the trades. Hosted by award-winning industry marketing experts Sarah Ghirardo from Remarkable and Eric Thomas from Rival Digital. Together, we're here to unite the worlds of trades and marketing, bringing you insights, stories, and strategies from the heart of the industry. Whether you're a trade professional, a marketing expert, or somewhere in between, this is the place for you. Listen in as we're here for the big ideas, the game changers, and the everyday successes. Because at The Trademark, we're with the trades and for the trades.
All right. What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Trademarke Podcast. And I got a great guest with us this week. It's Ryan Kiscaden. I got it.
That's right. Thanks, Eric. Yes, you got it right.
Yeah, I got it. Super excited. Ryan's got a lot of really cool stories, literally and figuratively, that we're going to kind of chat about today, and just a lot of really good, relevant, good industry experience. So super excited to kind of dig in and just learn more about what he's been up to, what he's got going on in his world. So Ryan, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm so delighted to be here. And I always love talking about the skilled trades and the HVACR and plumbing industries. It's a passion, obviously, for me, along with all of us that work in it.
Awesome. Yeah, love that as well. And so I see behind you there a couple framed images on the wall. Maybe they're books. What do we got there?
Yeah, I love that. So yes, behind me on the wall are two children's books that I've had the pleasure over the last 3.5 years to self-publish and author. Both. The first book is called The Water Came to a Stop on the plumbing industry, and really about encouraging folks to get in the industry, more importantly, celebrating plumbing technicians. And then the second book on the wall is called The Air Came to a Stop, but in that book also celebrates HVACR technicians.
Love that. Tell me a little bit more about like the inspiration behind, around self-publishing these books.
Yeah, it's a great question, and one I love to answer, because if I told you 3.5 years ago I would be writing children's books, I probably would have scoffed at that or laughed out loud, along with my wife and a lot of my close friends. Although I have a marketing background in my day job, writing children's books was definitely not on the list. But I think things change when you have 6 and 8-year-old boys at home, and you get inspired in different ways. And so for me, I just, it's one of those like in the shower moments when you're not thinking about work, an idea hits you. I had one of those lightning bolts about 3.5 years ago, and I said, who's telling the story about how technicians keep us comfortable and essential that they are in our industry? I said, what would be the best way to do that? And I just started putting all these pieces together, well, wait a second, there's a lot of workforce development activities happening, both, on the federal level with funding down to state level, right? There's apprenticeship programs, pre-apprenticeship, continuing technical education. So a lot of good stuff there. But I'm like, but I have kids that probably their highest role model is the parent at home. What could I do to really tell this story that a lot of us know pretty well, which is working in the skilled trades can actually be pretty rewarding emotionally. That was really the angle of the books, not necessarily the financial aspect now, but we could talk about that. But the idea is emotionally, like helping people solve problems is a good feeling and one that you should be proud of when you accomplish this work. And so that's what was really the inspiration. And again, I'd be really silly if I didn't mention both the plots and the books were really inspired by both of my children for 2 different reasons. I won't ruin the plots, but let's just say the children in the books caused the problem. They may or may not in my family have caused those same problems.
That's so funny. I'm looking at both of them here. Fun fact for everyone that enjoys Amazon, they are on Prime, so you can get them pretty quickly if you order them on Prime on Amazon.
Yeah,
no, that's funny, and that's so true. How I've got a 20-month-old, almost 2, and then I got another one in June coming in. It's interesting how when you have kids, it just changes so much for you. I know everyone always says like, oh, it's going to change everything, but it really does. Like just kind of what you're saying, like writing children's book was never in the cards, but it became a thing, and now it's like, you're passionate about it and you love it.
Yeah. I would love to talk to you about kids just for 2 seconds. I know that's probably not the podcast, the point of it, but
no, let's do it. I love it.
Yeah. I feel that again, no one truly properly prepares you for having children. It's almost like this, hey, you need to get sleep when the baby sleeps, or, to your point, things change. But until you actually go through it, you don't know what it really takes, to actually be parent and be a part of it. And the worst part about it, quite frankly, is it makes you have to think about yourself and how do you want to be. And change is hard for a lot of people, and so
Yeah.
all of us want to be better at everything. Typically we do work, life, relationships, but parenting is another aspect, and we can always be better. There is no perfect parent, but there's always that how can I improve kind of conversation. And so many
Yeah.
people that have kids just don't realize what that is, and it changes. And the funny stories I have, stuff like some of my friends would say, well, yeah, I was at the hospital while my wife gave the baby, and it's like I had all this help in the nurses, and then 3 days later they push you out the door, and you're like, you look down at your baby and your son or daughter, and you're like, what do I do now? Like, I have no help. There's no help now. The help's gone. The nurses are gone. So I got to kind of figure this
Yeah.
thing out. And so no matter how many books you read ahead of time, you will never be fully prepared to being a parent.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's so true, man. They walk you to the car, with the baby in the, for the car seat to get you in the car. And then you drive home extremely slow because it's like, oh my God, there's like no kid in the car. I'm gunning it. I'm back home in 15 minutes. And I've done this drive a million times, but the second there's a newborn, you're just like, okay, I'm going to go 10 miles under the speed limit in the right lane. And then you get home and you're just like, now what? I guess we make dinner. I guess we make lunch and just try to figure this out. It's so true. But it is funny because we're always reading children's books too. I'm going to make a note to order both of these and switch things up because my God, he loves to read the same 2 books every single night. So it's always nice to get a little bit of a change there. But tell me a little bit about, like, with the books, what was an unexpected outcome from self-publishing these books that you hadn't anticipated or you hadn't prepared for?
Yeah. So what I really like about the books is someone will read the book and inevitably they'll say things like, now I recognize, or my kids recognize certain things around them, like thermostats or ductwork or water heaters. Like that was the exact point of it. So the idea was to sort of introduce the vocabulary of our industry to younger people. But in addition to kind of having those plot lines, the things that I just never expected was, I'm getting a message on LinkedIn where it's, hey, my son says he, like as the water breaks in the building, my 5-year-old son says, don't worry, I know how to fix it. Just take me down there. Right. Like it's almost this superhero mentality of, much more that, again, they wouldn't have eyes on, because quite frankly, I feel at times like the creative arts really let this down, this message. And the good news is I have a lot of those high-end spokespeople that have really focused on this for a while now. Mike Rowe, Mike Holmes, Roger Wakefield, I'd even throw in there. So there's a lot of those guys that are really, being personalities to really try to change the perception. But until you can get them at that, 4 to 10-year-old age range, what these books are geared towards, you could change their perceptions of what it's like for these people before, let's call it, society gets to them, or the school kids or others do. And it's such a big impressionable age. And the other thing that's really impressed upon in me and surprised me is that it isn't just those kids that it leaves a mark on. Most of the time, it's the parents and guardians, right? The people that buy the books, certainly either in our industry or they know of people in the industry. But I've had educators buy the book and they have a deeper appreciation for, wait a second, maybe it should be an all options approach, not just, let's say, a 4-year college degree or things like that. And so that has been the most surprising to me, is although the target was that 4 to 10-year-old, it's just as much of a target for the readers and the parents, the guardians, the grandparents that may or may not know what the trades is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good, so true. We were chatting a few weeks back on the show. The episode hasn't come out yet, but we were chatting about just kind of like the messaging, the current messaging around the trades for the younger generation, and how, like, kids growing up. And we were talking about recruitment and just like the messaging around the, getting into the trades. And, we were talking about how, Nick Saban, when he was coaching at Alabama, like he didn't have a recruitment problem. Like he reached out and, he selected who came and played for them. And, but the reason people got to that point was because when kids are out in the yard playing baseball or throwing baseballs with their dad or their brother or their mom, they're thinking about they're 6 or 7 years old. They're thinking about Aaron Judge or this big, baseball star that they aspire to be like. And so they have this, the sports industry has really crushed the recruitment side of it. And so suddenly it's a 6-year-old playing baseball in the yard, but now they're playing travel baseball on the weekend and they're playing JV baseball and then high school baseball and they're trying to go to college for baseball. And we're talking how do we get the trades to that point where you're a 6-year-old and you're getting a new water heater and they're just as fascinated and excited about learning about, sub heat or water heaters or whatever as they are baseball and their favorite baseball player. So I think stuff like this is just so cool and so inspirational for sure.
Yeah, I mean, what kind of grabs me about what you're saying is you're talking about, trying to get role models sort of highlighted in this industry for them. And the reality is that a lot of this industry is everyday heroes, right? These are people that it's the person that's going to go to the school board. He's going to go to church. He's going to be, your neighbor. That's who, plumbers, HVACR techs are. And although it's sexy maybe to chase the baseball player, the rock musician, these other kind of ideal things. But the reality is most people don't end up there. It's less than 1% that actually make those things and make those higher ends. But again, we sort of glorify that which is famous. And so it's a societal issue at times, really geared around what these kids are consuming or what those parents are consuming and talk about and focus on, right? The everyday things just don't get enough attention, which are so important. And that's what, to your point, I hope books like this and, this initiative and, highlighting that for kids is, yes, it's written with animal characters, but this idea that the next time a plumber comes over and fixes our problem, thanking them, making sure that, we're the kids acknowledge that and it explains what it's like to sort of be in that position to help other people. Again, skilled trades isn't just about hand skills. It's very much about, it has a big piece of that, but it's for people that like helping others. It's for people that really, get interested and get excited by when you leave a job and you fixed a problem for somebody and, you're walking away from that and, you just feel so good to have taken care of that issue. And again, it's so easy in today's world to just get bogged down with email and the next call you got to get on and the everyday issues of the news and things like that. The reality is that all of us took a minute and just a breath and thought about the workers that are doing this work and those essential people. We would do a better job appreciating that. So it's an easy thing, but it's almost the next time the person comes over that does all the pests in your backyard, the landscaper, or in this case HVAC, and plumbing people, and just have the kids sort of see what they did and go, wow, they fixed our problem. That's pretty cool. And that can help change some of those minds. But again, I think what you're talking about too is that hands-on component, right? Getting kids the ability to kind of practice it early, make it fun, really focus on, it kind of gets lumped in STEM, STEM building and STEM activities. But, putting together a pipe waste and vent system at home is pretty easy to do and easily Googleable now, and then using AI to find out and do those kind of kits.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's so true how the home service industry, it's ingrained into the fabric of what we need in this world. And sometimes can just be, so it's hidden in plain sight, I think. Everyone's always trying to figure out what career path I should take. Should I go to school for whatever, biology or pre-law or medical or nursing? But I'm just looking out my window right now. There's a landscaping company next door cutting my neighbor's grass, and I can see at the end of the road there is an exterior roofing siding gutter company installing new gutters on a house. So there's just in the background that if we hadn't been chatting about this right now, I would have heard the lawnmower going, but I wouldn't have thought about it.
Yeah.
But it's hiding right there in plain sight. And I'm willing to bet that both of those folks are doing pretty well, in their career, either them or the owner of the business or both, hopefully. So I think that's so cool and so true about just getting them interested or at least acknowledging it, that it's what they're doing and why they're doing it.
It's so true. And again, we all can kind of play a role in that. It's just pointing out some of that everyday travels to the kids, which is, hey, did you see, in your case, like, did you see the landscaper over there doing the work? And sometimes like, so like, what's the big deal? And you have to sort of explain to them the why. It's just like a lot of
Yeah.
things, like the why behind it matters. There's a reason that we hire these people to help us because we don't have those skill sets. And again, it's a comfort problem. We need this work done, and it's appreciated when completed, and it's just a way to approach life. And again, it's so easy to just overlook those things, ignore them, and not focus on teaching those lessons to our kids because of the everyday stresses and problems. And so it's a good reminder to all of us, right? At times, it's just to kind of appreciate that. And look, the thing I've always said is some of my best friends in the entire world in the blue collar industries, right? Like there's a
Yeah.
reason, and they're good people. It's who I like to talk to. It's like who I like to hang around with and spend time with, and maybe have a good laugh with, and do other activities with. And
Yeah.
that's what life's all about. It's not necessarily about aspiring to be the baseball player that's like the minus 1% possibility of being that.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think I was looking here at Amazon that this is part of the Next Up Trades series.
Yes.
So you've got The Water Came to a Stop, The Air Came to a Stop. I can't help but wonder if there's other books on the horizon or trades on
Oh,
the horizon within the series.
yeah, so it's always been my vision to release 3. So there would always be an electrical book out there at some point. So to complete mechanical, electrical, plumbing. I've always kept an open door to opportunities and offers and conversations. And look, I've been going on this amazing ride. I'll say, like, my sponsor on the second book is a pretty well-known trade association, the Air Conditioning Contractors of America, or ACA. So they sponsored the air conditioning book. They are a great partner to have. They actually recently awarded me with the Independence of Spirit Award, which is pretty cool and
Oh,
makes me feel
congrats.
great. Thank you. My kids don't get it yet, but someday they will. Like, hey, Dad got this cool award. But
Yeah.
for doing something, again, it's not a day job thing. It's outside a day job. I felt compelled to do, and think it can make an impact. But yeah, I think there are plenty of opportunities around the multi series approach, but it's always been about, in my mind, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, because that's where I've really been the closest to. And
Yeah.
honestly, when I think about, HVAC particularly, I mean, some jobs today include all 3 of those elements, right? If you think about
Oh,
a mini
yeah.
split job, right, you got a condensate line, you need electrical run in addition to the HVAC component of that. So they're all sort of interweaving together. And certainly if you study the industry too, one business that used to be in HVAC is now starting a division for plumbing, and vice versa, and electrical. So that's where my head went. Is like, that seems like the right target, the right people, and again, who I sort of relate to the most. But it's a process for sure.
Yeah.
Hopefully there'll be a third one, but it is my vision to do that.
Yeah. So you mentioned before we started chatting that you've been in the industry for quite a while, and that you've got a lot of family and friends that are also in the industry, or owners in the field, stuff like that. I guess just tell me a little bit more about your experience within the mechanical trades industry.
Sure.
Or yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So 15 years in the industry, I got my start working at an HVAC and plumbing wholesale distributor. So working the counter, working the warehouse, doing deliveries to contractors. One of my favorite stories of all time is I had no clue what I was doing at all. Take a phone call from a contractor. The guy goes, "Hey, I need a five-gallon bucket of steam. What's my price?" And I'm frantically typing away on the computer, and then he just starts busting up laughing, like, you can't order steam, right? It's like, that's how green I was. And so I learned kind of the hard way. But again, it's funny. It's tough. Certainly, you got to have a thick skin, but you start to get it, and you can kind of joke back with them, and it's sort of this, family, if you will, of friendship and kinship. And but I started there. I've had the privilege of working in the major manufacturers in our industry, and really have seen the vertical up and down throughout that. My brother-in-law is a master plumber in New Jersey, local to me. So I live outside of Philadelphia. So he's not far, about a 30, 45-minute drive away. I grew up in a very blue-collar area here in Pennsylvania. Some of
Oh,
my
yeah.
friends own HVAC businesses. So that's really my connection in the industry. Again, not someone that's ever had the privilege of turning the wrenches in the field, but someone that has sort of admired that from afar. And it's amazing when people come to your house, or if you hire somebody and you could talk their language, they know them right away. They're like, wait a second, you kind of know what this stuff is. So you work in
Yeah.
it? I'm like, yes. So, but that's been my experiences with it. And, just been really privileged with a lot of the different trade associations and work throughout our space in different roles. Wow.
Yeah. That's awesome. In the summer of 2014, I worked an apprenticeship, a summer apprenticeship at a commercial, I guess more mechanical contracting business doing is plumbing, heating, and air. And I was a parts runner, for lack of better words, the whole summer. I'd go to the warehouse, get stuff, drive it to job sites, drop it off. But I also every other week I had to drive checks to job sites, people's paychecks, like physical checks. And my first week doing it, kind of like the 5-gallon bucket of steam, the folks in the office knew that one of these foremans that I was going to drop the checks off to for his particular crew was a bit of a loose cannon, not a very friendly individual. And so they were like, hey, just, drive out to the job site. Once you get there, we'll give you his phone number and you can call him and he'll come meet you so you can get the checks. And I was like, okay. This was like my first time doing this either. So get to the job site. I call the office. They give me his number. I write it down. I give him a call. And he comes out of the gate because it was a contracting job on a military base. And he comes out and he just starts ripping me apart. And he was like, I told you all in the office, you better give me 30 minutes heads up so I can stop what I'm doing and get out here and wait for these checks and blah, blah, blah. And I was like,
Yeah.
I feel like they set me up here.
Yeah, you probably did. It was to toughen you up, likely. And
Yeah.
look, the reality is that, when you think about the people in our industry too, like, they truly, the generations ahead of us, they were tough people and they still are tough.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
sore knees, bad backs, really busted hard. And, what's the problem with that is now the perception still is a lot of that's really hard work. It's backbreaking. It's not easy. And I certainly don't want to give any impression that, it doesn't require some manual labor and things, but it has changed a lot since those times. And where, they really had a rough go of it. But to your point, also some of that too is a little bit, dare I say, a little hazing. It's a little bit of like, can we trust this guy? Is he going to stick around or is he just going to be out of here? Let's try to scare him off. And I promise you, if you stay around a while, you'll end up like kind of giving it back and learning how to do that. And Eric, the other thing that I wanted to mention, it just reminded me. So when you look at the kids' books that I wrote, the term gopher, that's the term I came like. So I picked a gopher animal because of thinking about literally the parts runner guy in your case, like or go get it, gopher. And that was such a common thing. It's like, what are you doing today? And here, I'm just the gopher. That's where it came from, was because of that industry term. People like you. Unfortunately.
Yeah, that was such an interesting job. I literally was a gopher. Yeah, I had a different job every day. So I'm in southeastern Virginia, near like Virginia Beach area. And so, I mean, it's one day I'd hop in. They're like, oh, you're going to drive down to North Carolina and drop off whatever, pick something up, drive it back. And just, okay, next day I'm dropping off checks. Next day, picking someone up and taking them to the auto shop to pick up his truck. It just a total gopher. But I got so many good stories from that summer because I did something different every day. And I always try to make it a habit after a while when I would talk to someone or like drive someone somewhere or drop off a part or go to a supply house or anything to pick up parts. Just ask them random questions, about like their day or whatever. And it was really cool. And I think that it definitely opened my eyes to that world. That's kind of how I got exposed to this world, because I was, in college at the time and kind of got exposed to it. So I really like what you've done with the books. I definitely want to give them a read too.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah. They, a lot of people that have read them have just the feedback's been consistent. It's been, really helpful to tell the story when it's a hard look. I mean, the people that work in our industry do struggle with trying to put it in a positive light, a positive spin, tell it down to the kids level, because either they're just so technical, right? That's just like, the voltage and wattage of the unit we're working on, or or they just don't have a lot of that storytelling capabilities. And again, the thing that we all kind of have in common is we all have kids or people influential in our lives. That's why I wrote them, and was written to kind of, introduce those words. And so that's why it was done, is to really help tell their story here, which is a good positive one, and hopefully sheds a better light on what they do every day. And I feel really honored to sort of carry the torch to do that. And but the people that have read have really given a lot of good feedback. And that's another thing too. A lot of these books, were reviewed, peer reviewed. So it wasn't like I just wrote it like the top of my mind. In the case with the ACA sponsorship, their teams did review it. I mean, we had their technical teams, we had their marketing teams, we had all that to make sure it was accurate, because again, I'm in industry, but imagine, I mean, my gosh, you talk about that guy that was yelling at you on the job site. Imagine if I had put like a picture of R22 refrigerant in there, I think they would have probably really yelled at me. So but that kind of like validation and confirmation is throughout the book. That's important, right? It's from the industry, about the industry, and hopefully people can sort of observe and understand it.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything we haven't hit on so far that you were hoping to, kind of chat about or dig into a little bit?
Yeah. The only comment I would make is, certainly the books are a great outreach tool for this, but really the reason for doing this is to try to change this perception, right? The perception of that a 4-year college degree is the only and right path. The answer is we need to have all options on the table. So when I think about that from the lens of, how do you change hearts and minds and how do you influence others, I start with that as an emotional conversation. We have to move this from, it's a financial conversation, like, hey, you can have less school debt or college debt if you go into the skilled trades, but you're going to make a lot of money. That's a great conversation, a great talking point, but it's not the only one. I think we've spent too much time there. We have to think about skilled trades and workforce development in a different light, which is changing the perception starts with our hearts, our minds, and how we feel, the emotional side of it. And the way to do that is to tell these stories of what it's like when people do this work and are appreciated, right? It's a simple thing, but we spend way too much time on the negative and the financial, I feel. That was really the main reason I wanted to do this, was shed these people that help us, shed light on these people that help us. And once we start doing that, I think there's plenty of other, ideas and tactics and things we can do, like podcasts like this and so much other things. But it just kind of starts with highlighting it, going back to some of those big personalities I mentioned. They've done such a great job trying to highlight this, dirty jobs and what that's like. But it's really some of those other underlying reasons of why this work is good as well. And by the way, it's not a panacea, right? It's not just let's focus on the emotional benefits and it will work. It has to be all the above. My point is we've just lacked for too long. What is good by working in this industry and highlighting that?
Yeah. So got a couple more questions as we're starting to wrap up here a little bit. Just curious, like out of curiosity, as far as the book goes, like what's been or where has been kind of like the coolest or most like unsuspecting place that like it's been, distributed or given out that you weren't anticipating?
Yeah. Great question. So the most fun place for me has been in Calgary. So the book is available in Canada and the US, and certainly it doesn't surprise me that it made an impact in Canada. But the Calgary Construction Association really ran with the book. They have this nice little group called Honor the Work. That's sort of an offshoot of what the book is all about. And they pick up the book just as like these outreach kits to provide to the local school districts, the K through 5. And what I found with it is that it's really been helpful for them to really tell this whole, part of the story. And it's not just my books. They have like a whole cadre of books. That's been really surprising, is that, I mean, certainly I thought there would be school districts and in addition to the industries that picked it up, but there's so many of these ancillary, like nearby associations and trade and our industry that have started to really pick it up as well. That's been really cool. The second story I would tell you is more of a selfish one, I'll say, but nothing beats the time I'm sitting in the Philadelphia airport about to fly to an event for my day job. And the guy sitting across from me, he just kind of like looks at me. I feel him staring at me. I'm just like, I'd kind of ignore it or whatever. And he goes, "Are you Ryan?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "My kids love your books." I'm like, what? Like that's, it's like, your little 15 minutes of fame kind of thing, the famous, right? I'm like, wow, really? He's like, "Yeah, can I get a picture?" And I'm like, of course, like I'd love to give a picture, but It just kind of happens, and you don't do it for that reason, right? But people, if they really gravitate to the arts, and in this case, a book, and or music or any other thing, it just makes you feel really special when those things happen. Again, you're making an impact. Both those stories are really about making an impact. That's why we do it. So.
Yeah, that's so good. And I think you do it for the impact, but like when you get recognized, or you feel like the impact's been made, like that. And in that instance, someone said, my kids love your books, and can we get a picture? Like when I hear that, like I just immediately think like you made an impact on that family, or on those kids. And so like that's like mission accomplished at that point. That's so cool. So kudos to you. That's really cool. And for those listening that might be interested in learning more about you, connecting with you, buying the books, learning about the books, what are some ways that they can reach out, get a hold of you, and get plugged in?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I do maintain a website. It's www.nextuptrades.com. And so that hosts a lot of the information on the books. It has a lot of the press that's been picked up. We also have a lot of really cool things on there, like coloring exercises for children. You can just download them, use them if you have an event. We also have outreach materials. So like these little boxes now where it gives you like 20 pins and 20 marker sets for those coloring exercises if you get a group. That really has been a game changer for local schools that need something. But yes, nextuptrades.com has all my contact information on there, but you can find me in all the social media channels, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on all those. And if all else fails, you can always send me an email at ryankiscaden@gmail.com.
Awesome. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join me on the podcast. And I greatly appreciate it. And this has been a lot of fun. I'm excited to read the books.
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me. Have a good rest of your day.
And that wraps up another episode of The Trademark, where we bridge the worlds of the trades and marketing, one story at a time. We can't wait to see you next time. Thank you to the trades for giving back big, loving big, and taking massive action. Don't forget to join us next time for more engaging conversations and innovative ideas. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review and share it with your colleagues and friends in the trades and marketing. Your support means the world to us. Stay connected with us off the air by following us on social media. We'd love to hear your thoughts and get your feedback. Until next time, keep making your mark in the trades. Thank you for listening to The Trademark. Goodbye for now, and remember, we're with the trades for the trades.